An interview ready with the man behind that fabulous Victor performance.
Amazing performance you did. Yes, I'm here with the notorious POB Pobelter. Thank you so much for joining me here. I know it's late on a Friday, but EnVy made you work for that series. How are you guys feeling after a 2-0, obviously, but a pretty long fought one?
Yeah, well, we won, so it's nice. But on the other hand, I don't feel too good about the win because I feel like we're making a lot of progress in recent weeks, and most of our wins recently were because we were winning in team play. But these two wins today felt like we were just kind of out-muscling them and like brute forcing a lot of things, like kind of like how we were winning a lot of games last split. So even though we won, I don't feel that good about it.
Fair enough. I mean, is something particular about this team maybe? Because you've 4-0'd them now for the regular season, but they have given you trouble in a lot of the games. Is it something about EnVy, or is it just you guys reverted back to maybe some old tendencies?
I don't think it has to do anything with EnVy. I just think that we are struggling a little bit right now, maybe. Hopefully it's just a one-time thing and we can recover for tomorrow, but yeah.
Cool. Well, obviously you guys are doing pretty great, still sitting in second. Lots of great mid laners around you this summer, of course, but you're sitting now in the number 2 team and actually been playing exceptionally well so far. Where do you rank yourself as far as like the pantheon of current mid laners in the NALCS?
Top 10.
Top 10 of 10 different teams? You know anywhere else there? All right, fair enough. So maybe shifting back to game 1, we did actually play Talia. I'm wondering if you've had a lot of practice with the champion or you just felt like playing it. How do you think she kind of fits into the meta? Because we've had a couple mid lane changes throughout a lot of the summer. Where do you think she sits now? And maybe a little on 6-13 as well.
I didn't have that much practice on Talia, honestly. I've had maybe 7 or so games of hers so far, but I was feeling really confident in the pick because it was going well in scrims recently. And also it seemed to fit well with the sort of team comp we were trying to play with split pushing because Talia can use her ulti to influence side lanes a lot. So that's why I picked it. I'm still not that good at the champion. Obviously, I had some blunders that game. I think that she can be good right now, but does take some practice. She's a bit tricky. She kind of feels like TF, but a little bit stronger because her team fighting and her laning is stronger. So.
Well, awesome. Thank you for the great insight there. Top 10 mid laner in the NALCS. Pobelter, thank you so much for joining me, but we are going to toss it back to the analysts.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. A little bit of insight into exactly why they chose the Talia in that game 1, how she can be effective. I like the comparison to the TF. We had made a similar one, but having that reasoning work. Strong lane phase, very helpful, as well as being able to influence the side lanes. And that's something that Immortals has shown they love to do. I mean, they put Pobelter on the TF in the past. Now they have another tool to do the same thing.
Yeah, and it means that up on red side against them, when they can pick the Talia, and especially if you pick your mid laner early because you want that Huni like blind pick,
right?
Well, they usually save it for him, which we saw in the previous game.
All right, but that was game 1. Let's dive into game 2 here as Immortals was able to close it out in 2-0. Both of our top 2 teams today giving us swift 2-0s. We look at the champion select. Immediately, the thing that jumped out at me was the Tahm Kench in the top lane. I mean, there was a change that went in regarding the damage that used to be on his ultimate being moved to his passive, so he gets it earlier on. Yeah. But that's essentially it.
We also saw that his ultimate channels a little bit faster, like less overall channel time that you can have people jump in, but it goes faster. And that's one of the reasons I think that we were seeing him come back is those shifts in power, so he has a better early game, right? It almost took Huni off guard and almost got Seraph first blood, and it got him a large advantage in lane, but then he got ganked, he gave up first blood. But back to the ultimate point, it's faster, so with TP being nerfed, he's going to arrive a little bit sooner. I think it's something that they didn't use complete advantage of. But we did see what they were going for later on when he delivered procs into the backline. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah, exactly. And then we saw, of course, Ninja choosing that Lissandra with some very nice individual play from him. But overall, I know that looking at the Team EnVy composition, we felt they didn't execute on the composition ideally. We saw multiple team fights, and honestly, we can start rolling through the replays now. We'll start 17, 18 minutes in the bot lane, 3 for 3 here. This is a big turn from Pobelter. This was massive plays out of him. This is a long replay. Stick with us.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting to call these team fights at all because they're just skirmishes that go on forever. Like Reignover gets picked off early on. He was having a really bad start to the game, and then a beautiful kick flash from Proxton to get Wild Turtle into the team, but they pick him off and then they overextend. That's what gets me every time here is EnVy try to get too much. Like they can wait for the wave, be on the other side of it, get this turret, and instead they overstay. Seraph picks up Huni here, and then they're like, okay, well, we kind of hang around, let's kill Huni. And it's like, okay, back up. And then Ninja goes in, it's like, okay, well, let's kill Ninja. Let's do this.
Yeah, it was already
Like, let's go
already possibly a little bit too greedy to stick around for Huni, but then definitely too greedy to stick around for Pobelter and allow Rain over the time to get back into the fight.
Yeah, and Seraph right there, he has his ultimate up still. Like, he could ultimate away instead of backing. It's a much faster channel. You get out of there, doesn't take 8 seconds.
Yeah.
And Pobelter able to get the movement speed all the way down, like hitting the minion wave on the way through to get that extra movement speed, to get that laser off, and have Rainover pick up Lod. So it's just this gigantic chase down, which is a large part of that composition, but the Sivir is supposed to be the one chasing you down. And I think that the big thing to take away from that entire replay is EnVy was staying too long after they had won a fight.
Well, and this is an example of very much the type of game that Immortals is comfortable playing. They're more often going to make the right decision in those kind of skirmishy scenarios, split-second decision-making. They'll make some wrong decisions, but more often than not, they're going to make the right one. Their opponents will make a few more mistakes than they do. EnVy showing their, their inexperience in that they stay a little too long and hand a few kills back over.
Yeah, and I think that what Pobelter said about how it was a really bloody game, it felt like last split for them. It's kind of the primal instincts of Immortals is they like to brawl, they like to fight. Huni and Rainover are going to try to pick every fight that they can and just brute force out-skill you. And then they've resorted to that in this game because I think EnVy had the upper hand in most of these fights when they resolved for like the first time.
Right.
And then they
kept going.
It's like, okay. And I talked about it last game where I feel like it's EnVy having kind of the right idea of what they need to do to start closing the game out. Punish, get more advantages, but they weren't going for the right thing at the right time.
Very much so.
It was kind of, all right, with another kill, it's like not worth it. You can back up, you can be safer, right? Their risk versus reward by the end of these fights was honestly completely flip-flop.
And it's a very interesting look at what we were talking about earlier in the split with EnVy is that we were very impressed by their ability to team fight, their ability to skirmish, right? Because they seem to operate very well together as 5. It is just shown here when one team is better at it than the other, right? Because I would say that EnVy against many other teams would have come out on top in that situation. But because it's Immortals, because you're playing the guys that live and breathe these early skirmishes and play them almost perfectly, that's why you come out on the short end of the stick this time around. Our second replay is going to be 22 minutes into the game. Immortals picking up an ace here.
Let's see how this one starts off again. Yeah, Hakuo throws out the Bard ultimate, hits the turret, that's right, and then Proxy gets Wild Turtle back. He really wanted to either kick Adrian, and then it's a clean kill on the right-hand side, then you can collapse on Huni, and Ninja doesn't have to extend to get Wild Turtle. If Ninja had actually just gone for that one kill instead of going for more, they would have been able to use the Frozen Tomb onto Huni, and then they would have been able to pick him off, and then they're not underneath the damn turret. Again, that tier 1 turret bottom just destroying EnVy, and I feel like this is the same replay again because Pobelter's like, all right, let's get some speed.
It's literally the same 2 people from Immortals chasing 2 members of EnVy down yet again. Pobelter leading the charge. We saw both times traveling through the magical journey that Hakuho barely mistimed it, only getting Rainover against the wall both times as opposed to Rainover plus Pobelter. If he had, they would have gotten out safely. So again, just tiny mechanical mistakes like that ensure that Immortals do pick up the ace as opposed to a clean 3 for 3, right? Because at least they would have settled even had they not given up those 2 kills.
And like they're going to go back and look at those fights, and it's just like that Nexus almost kill.
Just everyone hit the Nexus,
Everyone hit the Nexus, right? It's like this one, it's like, okay, everyone switch targets, go to this side of the fight, because they're having scattered skirmishes. Like, these are skirmishes because it's like 3 people here, 2 over here. You can just group up after you separate 2 people. You don't have to chase them anymore. And you can be like, okay, 5 on 3 over here. And then, okay, well, now they have inferior numbers no matter what. And I think that that's what they're missing, is they're missing how to regroup in the middle of these fights.
All right, well, we saw it in both those replays. We already talked to him in the interview. Pobelter's going to get player of the game. Yeah, I mean, this is an obvious one, I think, in this case. We've talked about how in other games where teams are dominant, it's hard to make this decision. In this case, I don't think it was difficult. Over 1,000 damage per minute on that champion. And then as we just saw, the cleanup that he had in multiple big team fights was massive.
Yeah, throughout the entire game, Pobelter was definitely on point here. He seemed very comfortable on it, and when he revealed that his Talia wasn't as practiced as he would want it to be, it definitely makes sense when you see him on this champion that he's put so many games on, and he's honestly considered one of the best victors in North America, especially in the LCS. So having him on that champion, definitely comfort for him, and he definitely deserves that.
All right, now let me ask you this. We had both of our series play out today. Both of our top 2 teams 2-0'd their opponents in C9 and EnVy, no slouches themselves. What is your assessment of these 4 teams as our top 4 teams. You can even include Liquid in that conversation if you want, even though they didn't play. But having seen today's matches, how does your opinion change about these teams and maybe their relative power level to each other?
I still think that Immortals were kind of adjusting, so I still think that like TSM is #1 by a very short margin, very small margin. Immortals is right there up in that S tier with them, and you kind of pair them together and wait for when they play each other.
Right, I can't wait.
Which I think is week 9, so you have to wait till the very end. I think so.
It's worth it.
But yeah, and then I do still think it's Liquid in 3rd, and then honestly, Cloud9 are slipping a little bit more, but they did play TSM. TSM looked absolutely bloodthirsty.
Right.
EnVy's style up against Immortals proved in the past, because they almost won both games last time they faced each other.
Yeah.
It's still kind of hard to say, like, where exactly does EnVy fit? I definitely think that they are a playoff team as well. So I think we know, like, 5 of our playoff teams at this point. Like, I think it's Cloud9, TL, EnVy, TSM, and Immortals.
I don't think anyone would call you crazy with that list, making playoffs. But definitely, I'm in agreement, TSM, Immortals to Team Liquid. Kind of a toss-up between Cloud9 and EnVy right now. I will be excited for that match as well, as there will be a lot figured out. Now, earlier today, we opened up a topic on Twitter for you at home to comment on, and you delivered. We asked, which NALCS team do you think will have the best second half of the split? And here are some of your responses. First up, Firefly Legend says Team Liquid is only improving, and we've seen close best-of series from them at the end of the split, even when they end in 4th. Okay, well, the forever 4th thing is going to chase them through the remainder of their careers. But Team Liquid, we already talked about them. Let's hit them one more time, though, in terms of having the best second half of the split. Do you agree? Do you think that they can do this, or what are the elements that they're going to need to shore up in order to get that best half?
I think that they can do it. I think that if the meta stays the way that it is, Fabi fits utility perfectly. Lorlo fits carry with synergy with Dardoch. So it's honestly just having consistencies from these members, especially Phoenix in the mid lane. And if he's able to adapt his champion pool and like pick up the Cassio and master it, which he's shown that he's on his way to doing, as well as like maybe a Talia and things like that. So I feel like Liquid, they're in that 3rd place spot right now. Come playoffs, though, it's still that whole rookie factor. I still call them rookies at this point because Lorlo looked very nervous last time.
Right.
And Matt didn't play the way that he wanted, got really frustrated with himself. So not getting frustrated at your mistakes on stage is the big step for Team Liquid.
Now, the one thing with Team Liquid that I have to bring up is I agree with Mark's assessment of them in that I would say that their playstyle most closely relates to Immortals, and they are a slightly worse version of Immortals. And so, depending on our definition of best half or best second half of the split, if it's best relative to that team and what we expect of them, or if it's just best overall, I'd say they have a tough time having the best split, given that Immortals is in the league and they play very similarly to them. Next up, though, @Sample1 tweeted, I think Echo Fox is going up from here. They've had half a season to get used to each other. I'm sure it'll be good. Now, that is a bold claim there. Just based on what we've seen from them so far this split, they're struggling very much so. That does, of course, mean that they've got a lot of room to grow. Yeah. So we might see the largest delta in terms of performance between first and second half of the split for this team.
I definitely think that they could have a very stark contrast to their first half. I think that that is something that is quite possible for Echo Fox. We know that their skill ceiling can be high. There's some rumors like, are things going to get changed around? What's going to happen? Roster lock hasn't happened just yet.
Right.
So I don't know what's going to happen with Echo Fox. Maybe they're going to have a great second half, but we saw last split that they are capable of coming together and getting like 7th place and, barely missing out on playoffs is not the goal for them. They want playoffs,
yes,
but they have the potential.
I think for me, the way that they're going to have to do it is they have to start being more proactive. And whether that comes through champion select and just picking champions, they have no choice but to make decisions, right? Go buttons. I don't care if you play Vi, but at least when you choose to ultimate someone, there's no question about what you're trying to do. So it's either that, whether you're finding it in champ select, whether you're finding it in players, somebody's got to step up on that team and start making calls and initiate, whatever it is. I just don't want to see them lose games slowly anymore.
Yes. And
that's what I don't want to see out of Echo Fox.
TSM said it, like Doublelift said it, like it sucks to lose, but losing slowly,
bleeding to death, just like that is not fun. I mean, I can't speak from experience necessarily, but like I can't imagine that that's the most fun way to lose.
Probably not.
Either way, now that we've got that out of the way, let's see how the league stands following the conclusion of tonight's series. TSM and Immortals remain at the top as kings of the NALCS. Liquid now has sole possession of 3rd place, while Cloud9 slips to a 4th place tie with EnVy. Defending champ CLG sit in the middle of the table, tied with Apex, leading Energy, Echo Fox, and Phoenix 1, who round out our standings. Now, Week 6 is only just beginning, so make sure to find your way back to us tomorrow for a fresh set of matches. The day begins with a special time, and day for the EU LCS. Tune in at noon Central European time for some critical midseason matches as teams jockey for position in the standings, with Giants taking on H2K and Schalke Club battling with Splice. Then at noon Pacific, NALCS 1 picks up with Energy looking to continue to shape up in the midseason against Apex. Following that series in the Battle Arena, we'll host our match of the week between Liquid and Immortals, two of those teams in that big conversation that we were having earlier. Now, Dardoch, Fabi, and the rest of the Team Liquid will look to continue their streak of wins against one of the league's fiercest competitors. So let's hit this matchup one more time. We already talked about the fact that they're very similar in from a playstyle standpoint. But in this one, I think the things that jump out at me is the similarities and differences between Reignover and Dardoch.
Yes, that's the one that I look at, because it's like bottom lane, you're going to bring your utility, range support, engage. Top lane's going to try to carry. Mid lane is your consistency factor.
Yep.
Jungler. Reignover, although he's like 11-0 on Rek'Sai right now, like they both play that champion very adeptly. And if Dardoch can get in there and be very aggressive, we just saw Reignover crumble under the pressure of Proxen early on and rely on his teammates to carry him. So if he can do that, which is the next match, so basically Reignover has to shake that off and get ready for that, because Dardoch could shake him up.
I really love that point, too. Just a quick shout-out to Proxen for tonight's performance.
Yeah.
I know the casters threw him a little bone during the games themselves, but he performed fantastically dealing with Reignover, one of the best players in the league. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight. For myself, Zyrene, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Got that Pikachu, though.
We got that Pikachu.